I also think that in kind of a less direct way, if you're teaching, especially kids, gun safety, you're teaching them respect for a firearm. I think there's a lot of kind of surrounding issue, that helps, teach a respect.
Hey, have you ever wanted to get a pilot's license? Here in San Diego, pilots can fly almost every day, which makes San Diego one of the best places to learn how to fly in the world. Learn to fly with San Diego Flight Training International? Check out this deal just for Gun Owners Radio listeners. 1 hour ground school, 1 hour of flight with instructor. Yep, you get to fly. Normally $400 for listeners is $350. Getting started is easy. Give them a call at 858-569-1822. Learn to fly with SDFTI. Call today, 858-569-1822.
So Rich and I, when we were preparing for the show, actually when I say we, I mean Rich, when he was preparing for the show, because he does so much to help us. He's an amazing producer, and he does a great job. Found a clip of somebody talking about activism in general, and I thought it was really, really phenomenally interesting. And Rich pulled the clip, and we're gonna take a listen to it, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about it. So there's actually someone speaking in front of like 100 people, and it's pretty interesting. So Brendan, go ahead and play the clip.
I always like to do a Second Amendment check. Can we do a Second Amendment check real quick? Stand up if you believe in the Second Amendment. Stand up. Okay? Now, I want you to remain standing if you own a firearm that is yours, that you picked out, your daddy didn't pick it out for you, your brother didn't pick it out for you. Remain standing. I want you to keep standing if that firearm is on you right now, not in your car, not at your house. Now, I want you to remain standing if you've been to the gun range in the last 30 days to practice with your firearm. Next, I'd like you to remain standing if you've ever testified in a hearing in defense of the Second Amendment. If you feel attacked right now, it's your conviction calling you a hypocrite.
A room full of conservatives. A room full of people who talk on the internet constantly about how the Second Amendment shall not be infringed. And they can't be bothered to carry their guns. They can't be bothered to practice with their guns. And they can't be bothered to testify in hearings. When the Second Amendment goes away, it's not going to be anybody's fault but yours.
Strong language. And I think it's a little bit of tough love. And honestly, I can't remember who the lady is. But man, was she passionate, and I think she was right on. I can't tell you how many people, I was talking about it. One of the things I was talking about was on Rifle Supply's podcast was, the fact that I watched for weeks. I don't really watch the news anymore. You know that. I stopped watching the news.
I know.
By the way,
you're very boring.
Oh God, no. Watching the news is very boring. It's the best decision. One of the best. I'm honestly going to say that one of the top 10 decisions in my life was deciding to stop watching news. I'm not even, no hyperbole. So I don't watch news anymore, but some of this stupid stuff that used to,
get you crazy.
Well, that's on the news. Some of it makes its way to me, like the balloon that they shot down that went over the Chinese balloon or whatever, that kind of made its way. The other one was how everybody was really mad for like a month at Bud Light. And one of the things we talked about on Rifle Supply was everybody, everybody got real fired up over Bud Light.
Yeah, now it's Ben and Jerry's.
Really? I hadn't heard it.
Well, you haven't heard Ben and Jerry's?
Well, so they're all fired up over this stuff. But in Imperial Beach, we needed people to show up. And only about 10 people showed up. They're trying to open up a gun shop. We're trying to get people to show up in La Mesa. How many people are going to show up?
None.
Well,
or a very small.
A handful, right? But how many people are mad at Bud Light?
Oh, I'm really mad.
They're so mad at Bud Light.
And now Ben and Jerry's.
So this
I know
lady,
you want to know about Ben and Jerry's.
I honestly don't care.
Yes, you do.
I really don't.
Because you eat Ben and Jerry's.
I don't eat Ben and Jerry's.
They don't make spaghetti.
They don't make steak.
No, that's true too.
So I wonder if they actually might make like a spaghetti flavor, but this lady's point was we all, talk about it. Everybody talks about it, how important it is. And they wonder, well, gee, what happened? I got to leave California. I got to move.
But see, that's the problem with conservatives. We don't act. We just sit there going, oh, well, all right. Or we complain, but we don't do anything.
Yeah, from my cold dead hand, but then it's not in their hand.
Exactly.
It's not on
See,
their
my
hand.
hand's not cold.
Yeah.
It's perfectly warm.
If you want, I'll let you know. Her name is Jara Hutchins, and you can find her on Instagram at Clearing the Chamber.
Dude,
That's the name.
Alicia was way ahead of you like
sorry.
an hour ago.
Oh, man, I am far behind
But
you on
Mike
that one.
didn't put his glasses on, so he couldn't
gotcha.
see.
So Alicia, what do you think about her words too strong?
No, not at all. So going into it, when I watched the video, going in knowing that it was a conservative group, I honestly was shocked at how many people sat down. The first 2-3 rotations of what she asked, a large percentage of the population were still standing, and that was pretty awesome. And then they got to that last question, and only one woman stayed. That was it. One out of at least 100, if not more.
Which is probably it's a 1%, which is probably high.
Yeah,
That's
right,
probably pretty
right,
high
Right.
in the reality of it. So what's the problem? I actually got an email from someone who we put out the email saying, hey, we need you to show up. Yesterday we put out the email saying, hey, we need you to show up on Tuesday night. And I got an email back from someone, and it was like a paragraph where they explained to me that they didn't have time because they were spending time with their family. It took as much time to write the email as it
You
would
could
have.
have went.
I'm like, okay, I don't really know what to do with that, And I looked up to see if this person, donated or like, who is this person? And it was zero. They'd never donated. They're not a member. But he took the time to tell me that he was going to not do anything on Tuesday night, in favor of the Second Amendment. And I thought, well, as if it's a choice, that hey,
Let him know he can bring his kids.
well, but I mean, we're asking him to take 2, maybe 3 hours out of his life. It's as if it's an actual choice that hey, I'm either going to be a good family person or I'm going to go spend 3 hours at a meeting on a Tuesday night. No, you can do both. You can do both. And by the way, if you can't come to the meeting on Tuesday night, then why don't you send us $10 a month so that we can make sure that somebody is there to defend the Second Amendment on your behalf,
Okay, so I don't know if this is going to help or if you even think this is worthy, but it's on a side note, Carlsbad used to have a drag strip. It was world renowned. Everybody from the world came there for motocross racing and drag racing. They decided to close it and put an industrial park in. We busted our you-know-what to get people to go down to City Hall in Carlsbad, keep it open, don't take it away. Nobody showed up. But everybody
had an opinion.
Everybody had an opinion. And then afterwards, after the industrial park was in, I actually had a group call me and say, we just raised $3 million. We want to go fight the track and keep it. I go, it's gone.
Yeah.
Why didn't you come when we asked you to come?
Yeah.
And the auto community, the hot rod community is just as tight as the gun community. But nobody showed up.
So what do they do with that $3 million? Because you know what they could do? Get people elected or get people unelected.
Yeah.
Because somebody made that decision.
I know.
And I think that piece is extremely important too. That if let's say we go down and fail. Okay, let's say we go down and they pass this regulation. Okay, then there are at least 3, probably 4 seats that we need to get involved in La Mesa, and we need to take 3 or 4 scalps, political scalps.
No,
and replace them,
with the right people.
With the right people. And that's the most American thing you can do.
Right.
The entire point of the 4th of July, the Declaration of Independence, which, led to the Constitution. The entire point was, government, of the people, right? But the government's job is to protect your rights, not take it away or regulate. So the whole experiment is to be self-governed. That's the whole point of the country. And when I hear people say, well, I shouldn't have to put up, these regulations that they're putting on us are un-American. No, not fighting back against these regulations, not going and saying, hey, representative, this isn't how I want to live my life. We're in the country with self-government. That's the most American thing you can do.
But they know, the government, the cities, all these people know that they're not going to get any kickback. They were doing it with parents, about, you have no right to say what your kid learns in school until the mothers got up in arms
involved, right?
And got involved. And then all of a sudden, Well, now mothers are terrorists and all that, but they never expected anybody to fight back, and that's what this La Mesa thing is going to be about.
Well, it is, and I guess I hear people say, "Well, gee, this is America. They shouldn't be passing these laws. Shouldn't have to do that."
Well,
no, in America, in the country of the self-governed, you have to show up. You have to govern yourself.
I like to add, for people that think, well, I don't live in La Mesa, it's not a big deal. If it goes in La Mesa, your town's going to be next.
Well,
it's already happened, right? So Solana Beach, Del Mar,
Yeah.
City of San Diego.
how'd that get through?
People didn't show up. We were there for City of San Diego. We were, we even gave a presentation and but didn't have the numbers. And then who got unelected for that? Nobody.
Right.
Nobody got unelected.
Where they put a device on your car to charge you by the mile when you drive. That's going to go through like butter. Watch.
But the point is that
we don't get involved.
It's not a spectator. Being an American is not. You can't be a wallflower.
Right.
Being an American is the exact opposite. If you want to be a wallflower, you got to go to one of these parliamentary systems, where you don't have a Bill of Rights, and their whole where you get governed.
Well, what's the old saying? If you don't vote, you have no right to complain.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. And we got to go. You got to take about 10 steps further than just voting. But I like that this tough love has to happen more often. I think there was a shock value, in putting people on blast and saying, hey, you can't just sit there anymore.
I think that's when the mothers roared,
right.
It made a difference. The husbands didn't. The mothers did.
There you go.
Hey, is there a better tool that empowers a woman to defend against an attacker that's 100 pounds bigger? Alicia?
Nope.
That's why it's so important for women to learn how to defend themselves with the most effective self-defense tool ever invented. For women led by women, the Not Me program is designed to help with training, purchasing a gun, and getting a concealed carry permit. And guess what? It's free. Sign up, go to notmesd.org. And you know what you need to do?
What?
You need to
a lot
get
of things.
Desi to give us all a stack of Not Me SD business cards.
All right.
I can't keep writing them on pieces of paper.
I'll have her contact
Seriously.
you and get that all arranged.
Because
Not a
I
problem.
gave
We
it,
have literature.
I gave it to women 3 times, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at KUSI.
Yep. We have postcards. She has cards. Well, absolutely.
Just one of
All the
business.
things.
I'll get you. I'll get you all that.
I'm serious because I do it all the time. And
Yep.
yeah, okay.
The other thing is, of course, that's the program that you're talking about where they actually do the work, and then we've also set up a 501c3.
Right.
Help us fund that 501c3 so that program can be even more successful, and that we're not punishing instructors and gun shops, who want to help, but they're the only ones, giving discounts or whatever. That money, when they give a discount or they give something for free, that money, it's coming out of their pocket.
Why don't we reach out to the gun manufacturers? I bet you they would back that program.
I think you're probably right. We are. We're in the midst.
Yeah. Rich?
Say again?
Rich?
Rich? What do you mean?
Well, tell him to get
tasking
off his
Rich.
butt to get out there and start reaching out.
That's not Rich's job.
Well, he could be.
Okay, so the gun violence, remember those listening sessions that we did a few months ago, and then they produced a report, and we talked about the report from the gun violence listening sessions and all the research that they did. They produced this report. It's like it's 204 pages long, 204 pages. And we talked a little bit about it last week. It truly, I believe, backfired on because the intention from Nathan Fletcher and some of the others on the board, the intention of this completely and totally skewed and biased research center that did this, and they were absolutely biased. It was not science. This was propaganda, but it backfired on them because it showed exactly what we talked about and what we've been talking about. Which, number one, is most of these are suicides. 70%, which is actually higher than the national average, are suicides. 30% are homicides, and a teeny, tiny, tiny fraction are other. And the homicides are the majority of the homicides. Homicide's not always illegal, right? Mm-hmm. A homicide could be if you use your gun defensively, and it's completely and totally legal to defend yourself. That is a type of homicide. But the majority of the homicides were illegal murders. Mm-hmm. And they talk a lot about it. Now, here's one thing from, we talked earlier about going to La Mesa on Tuesday night. We need everybody to show up at City Hall in La Mesa. Dave, what's the address?
Hold it. Let me get you. I got on page 12.
I'll be there holding his hand.
8130 Allison in La Mesa, somewhere near the trolley.
Be there before 6 p.m. Sign up and say, hey, I want to speak. They'll give you 2 minutes. 6 p.m.? Before 6 p.m. It starts at 6. You want to get there before 6. Well, I mean, like 5:58. Like, don't show up at 6.
Are we going in as a group?
Nope. It's
and don't tell them where you live.
Okay. So So what what you want to do is you want to sign up and be a speaker. And here is a piece from this document that they produce. Some of the research they produce. Here's something that you want to maybe bring up and talk about. Safety with firearms. According to the CHIS survey, among adults with at least one firearm in the home in San Diego County, about 7.7%, which is about 29,000 adults, keep their gun loaded and unlocked, whereas most, 92.3%, which is 354,000 adults, reported that they do not keep their gun loaded and unlocked. These firearm safety rates are approximately similar to San Diego County and the state of California, as illustrated on 7.7. So we're only talking. So what they're saying is they're trying to pass this law on everyone because 7%, less than 8% of people don't do what they want them to, which, by the way, isn't always improper, right? So the assumption is the assumption from this extremely biased, horrible firm is that 7.7% are doing something wrong or bad, and it is not necessarily wrong or bad to store your firearm in your home loaded and unlocked.
I can't believe that number's not higher because you can't tell where they got their information. How do you justify it?
Yeah, exactly. But still, let's go with their number, right? Let's take their number and use it against them. Yeah. We're talking about only 7.7% that do what they don't want us to do, which, by the way, isn't always improper.
Right.
And that narrative, is an important one. Hey, look, it's not always improper to store your firearm unlocked and loaded. That's not always bad. And that's the narrative they're trying to. So that's the assumption, right? Well, here, let's just put this out there. They didn't explain, like, hey, some people are doing it because of this, or hey, some people don't have kids in the home, or some people, whatever, right? They're just saying, oh, by the way, let's show this really unsafe statistic, which is only 7.7%, right? Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say here?
Absolutely.
But that's a one of these statistics from this 204-page document that we should use against them because their intention was to figure out more ways to ban and restrict our Second Amendment rights, and so let's use their document, which showed exactly what we've been saying. One of the things we ended on this piece of information last week. So this was a study where they looked at a 5-year period. It's 2017 to 2021, I believe. So they had these enormous numbers, right? This 30%, 70%, blah, blah, blah. One of the things we ended on was how many actual deaths are we even talking about? You remember that, Dave? You remember how many there were?
Not really.
1,300.
Wow. We're
only talking about 1,310. That's it. That's all we're talking about. Now, it is sad, tragic, and horrible anytime.
Even if it's one.
Even if it's one. That's sad, tragic, and horrible. Mm-hmm. But for them to conduct a study and to try to paint, a picture like this is an epidemic.
Well, if they said hundreds of thousands, it'd be a different story.
Even if we'd have gotten to, multiple thousand, we didn't even get to multiple thousand, 1,300 over 5 years. That's not 1,300 a year. That's 1,300 over 5 years.
Gosh, they lose that in 90 days in New York.
I was actually looking up. I haven't conclusively found it yet, but I think from what I'm seeing, I think this is like I was looking up to see these are similar numbers that we lose to like jaywalking.
Yeah,
it's not. And now San Diego's doing a lot better than California in general, and we're actually safer than most of the country, which is great. But the idea that some of the recommendations in here was to blow this whole thing up, create this big bureau,
right?
More bureaucracy.
Oh, of course, we need another bureau,
right? For this, but again, they're not trying to solve a problem here. What they're trying to do is paint the picture that guns and gun owners are unsafe. So, So 1,300, and then another about 1,367 are firearm-related injuries in San Diego County. This is 2016 through 2020, so this is a 4-year. 2017 through 2022 is the suicide and homicide rate, and then 1,367 was 2016 through 2020. I wonder why they use two different years there, two different chunks of years there. I'll bet you they were cherry picking a little bit. So anyway, not a lot, and which is good. That's something we want to be proud of in San Diego. Not a lot of, but they didn't mention anything. They didn't really talk about defensive gun uses much at all. The only reason I think that they added it is because we talked a whole lot about it. They talked about mass shootings and K through 12 school shootings. But again, this whole document really, really proves what we've been trying to say, that number one, it isn't the epidemic. The violence isn't the epidemic that they're trying to paint it as. Number two, gun owners are generally extremely responsible and law-abiding, and number three, that one of the solutions here is education and, yes, more guns. That the more sane, trained, law-abiding people are able to defend themselves against the 30% which were homicides, the better. The better. Period. Full stop. And that's one of the things that we really emphasize with Not Me was, of course, trying to prevent sexual assault and domestic violence by making sure that women can defend themselves. Mm-hmm. And they actually talk a lot about that. There was a lot of feedback from the listening sessions where they said, hey, one of the things that we need to talk about is how to prevent, violence. Mm-hmm. And this was one of the groups that was talked about, which is good. But they didn't really have a choice. They had to include that because we showed up and made sure that they had to include that, which was pretty big. So I don't know. Did you have a chance to look at the report?
I did. I looked. It's 204 pages. I didn't really have the patience to sit and just to digest it all, but I did browse. Do you have any impressions? Everything that you've already stated, I totally agree with, and all your observations. It's 204 pages.
Yeah.
It's
No
a lot
pictures?
of. There actually are lots of pictures, lots of graphs. There are charts and graphs, pie charts, line charts, every kind of.
Well, for 6 digits,
Yeah.
it's better. Were they in color?
Yes,
There's some
yes, they are.
And I'll tell you before we go, public listening session themes. The number one theme was support for gun rights. Does that make sense? So a theme in the listening sessions, in other words, what do people talk about most? Mm-hmm. The number one thing that people talk about most, they showed up and said, hey, we want to make sure that you support gun rights.
Hey, a lot of companies waste an enormous amount of money on marketing. The design is excellent, the photos are beautiful, and your website looks great, but it's just not getting customers. Why? Because you don't have the words that make people buy. But now you can fix that with Sage Tree. Sage Tree can help you find the words that make it easy for your customers to understand what you do and how to buy from you. Stop wasting money today and schedule a call. Getting started is real easy. Just visit sagetree.com and click on the schedule an appointment button. That's sagetree.com and click on the schedule a call button.
So we're talking about the report that was produced by these listening sessions, the gun violence reduction, and I wanted to read a couple other things from some of their appendix, some of the statistics that they have here, and let's see. Here's a good one right here. So Appendix 1, public listening session themes, causes of gun violence, in order of how many people spoke up and said, hey, this is what we think. Mental health, trauma, something obviously there because of San Diego County gun owners getting involved and saying, hey, lack of family and social support. I think that's a very broad term of basically saying that, criminals, you talk about, people that don't have, kids that don't grow up without parents, kids that grow up with no structure,
What was this category was what again?
Lack of family and social support is one of the,
was this specifically homicides or just gun violence?
Well, causes of gun violence.
Because I see my mind first went to suicide on that.
Oh,
do they
interesting.
kind of get specific as to their angle on that?
Not here. Lack
No.
of family and social support. I guess it could
It could go either way.
go either way. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't have if you have a lack of family and social support, that could lead to suicide. It could also lead to being a career criminal. I can see that.
What if it doesn't?
What if it doesn't?
Yeah.
Then good.
Oh, just curious.
But I thought those were the two top ones. Which again, they wouldn't be there, but for you fantastic listeners who went and showed up and said, "Hey, it's very important." Now, public listening session themes: solutions to gun violence. The number one solution: funding of community-based organizations. I think that's probably something everybody can agree on.
Yeah.
I think that pro Second Amendment folks and anti-gun people. By the way, let's talk about terminology for a second.
Yep.
We're not pro-gun. That's not what we are. We're pro Second Amendment.
Correct.
We're not pro-gun. It doesn't matter if it's a gun. It doesn't matter. We're pro Second Amendment because we want to be able to defend ourselves. Second Amendment doesn't talk about guns. It talks about arms. So we are pro Second Amendment. Now, that doesn't mean the other side's anti-Second Amendment. The other side's just anti-gun.
Right.
That's all they are. They just don't like guns. So they're going after the inanimate objects. So you'll frequently hear me, those are the two sides. You'll frequently hear me refer to pro-Second Amendment, us, and anti-gun, them. They have an irrational fear of guns, of firearms. And they're anti-gun is what they are, which I think is an important point. It's an important distinction to make. But whether you're pro-Second Amendment or anti-gun, funding of community-based organizations, I think, is something we can all agree on. Are we going to agree on exactly which organizations to fund?
Absolutely not.
Probably not. But one of the community-based organizations that came up, not me. Not me as a community-based organization, which, by the way, the county is already starting to fund, which is awesome.
Fantastic.
We're going to get a check from the county in probably about a month or so here.
Really?
Yeah. How about that, Dave?
Amazing. You have to pay taxes.
No. It's going into a 501c3.
Sweet. You're going to lunch. We're going to lunch.
That's not how a 501c3 works.
Oh. You have to eat.
Second of these is youth mentorship. Youth mentorship. I think that
I think that's good.
that's another thing everybody can agree on.
Sure.
Right.
Kids growing up,
Yeah.
and they either get the mental health support that they need so they don't become suicidal,
Right.
or they get the the life help that they need so that they don't become somebody that commits
I think of all
homicide.
those good stories that came out like Big Brother and Big Sisters. Just having that mentor.
There was another guy who was actually on KUSI over the weekend. His name's
what's his name?
Joe Sigurdsson.
Yeah, he was on this morning or Saturday.
What's today? Sunday? I think he was on
He doesn't watch
yesterday
the
morning.
news. He doesn't watch
That's
the
right.
news.
You don't
He
watch
doesn't
the
know.
news. Why are you even talking to you? But he was there.
Yeah, Boys to Men is
Yeah,
the name of
Boys to
his
Men.
organization.
Great program.
Joe Sigurdsson is a great dude. His program is wonderful, and they provide all kinds of support. They basically go into a school and say, "Show us your, the 4 kids causing all the problems."
Right.
And guess what percentage of kids involved in his organization? The kids that are the problem kids that he helps. Guess what percentage do not have a father?
100.
99%.
Nah, it's 85%.
They were close.
Pretty close though. 85%. That's a
thought
trend.
for sure you'd say 100.
Right?
Well, there's not. No.
But again, I think there's probably a lot of – I think that pro-Second Amendment and anti-gun folks could probably come together, and we probably wouldn't even argue over which youth mentorship programs that we'd be willing to fund. There'd probably be a couple that the pro-Second Amendment wouldn't want to fund. There's probably a couple that the anti-gun wouldn't want to fund. But in general, I'll bet you there's a lot of circles that overlap there.
But when Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts were flourishing, that had a lot to do with kids that didn't have fathers.
So Joe Sigurdsson's group, Boys to Men, it's exactly what they do. It's very much like Boy Scouts.
Right.
They say, hey, for the one
You
thing.
just don't have to wear a uniform.
Well, you don't have to wear a uniform, but they sit down and talk and they say, hey, here's some adults that are successful and here's some problems that they had. Like they get real honest, and say, hey, there's some problems that they had and here's how they had to work it out or whatever. And then it gets the kids to open up, and all these kids are angry. All these kids are angry. They're like young teens, and they're just irate. They're mad that they don't have a dad. They're mad that the world hates them. They're mad, they're irate. And that starts to come out, and that's a little different from Boy Scouts. They didn't really do a lot of that.
No, they don't do any of it.
But what they did do in Boy Scouts is, hey, do these 5 things and you can move forward. Do these 5 other
plus
things.
They keep the kids busy.
Keep them busy.
They don't sit around and waller in their
Give them an opportunity to feel accomplished.
And they give them an opportunity to accomplish something.
Merit badges.
And those are, those are rites of passage, which is, I think, sorely missing in society today. And that's, I think that's extremely important. Other support programs for youth is another, the next one on the list. Enforce the laws, including gun laws.
What a concept.
Don't we agree with that?
What a concept.
I don't agree with some of the gun laws, but I definitely, if you're committing violent crime with a gun.
So you mean if they were to enforce the laws on the books?
I don't even think you have to have a gun if you just enforce the laws.
Right.
Hey, I stole a bag of potato chips at a grocery store because I was on a dare. My buddy dared me. I couldn't get a.
Well, if the security people chase you now they get arrested.
Well, I know,
they get in trouble.
But no. And it wasn't a little bag. I had to get the big bag. Okay. And I got busted. And they called the cops. The cops called my dad, who was a police officer, handcuffed me, put me in the back seat, asked me if I ever stole.
How old were you?
8. So guess what?
You never stole again.
Well, no. The only other no. The other I could tell you stories. He put me in jail for 12 hours one time. Handcuffed me.
Did it work?
Asked me if I've ever been in jail since.
I was going to say.
I mean, handcuffed me, fingerprinted me, put me in solitary confinement for 12, 13 hours.
Wow.
I was 9.
Wow.
And it was in with the bad boys. It wasn't in juvenile hall.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, enforce the laws, including gun laws, in parentheses. I think that is all extremely important. Enforce the laws. And there really is. There's a lot of statistics to prove exactly what, kind of what Joe's premise is. Joe Sigurdsson's premise of, show us the 3 or 4 boys that are committing all the, that are the hardest, having the hardest time in school. There's a lot of statistics to show that the vast majority of crimes are committed. If you look at the thousands of crimes that are committed, and break it down into different categories over the year, it's like dozens of people. It's a very small minority of people that are doing it.
What about girls?
I like them.
No. I mean, because there's a lot of gangs, girls. I mean, they're pretty brutal, too. I wonder if they have a program for that.
I don't know.
Girls tend to have their outlet a little different. Boys that are struggling and having trouble, you tend to see them go more towards gangs and violence. Yeah. I think girls go more the sexual angle.
Really?
Oh, that's interesting.
Really? Yeah, it's like every.
That's how they act out. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I see.
So here's the next one on the list. Extremely interesting. Gun safety education. Gun safety education. Now that's another indicator. That's so high on the list. That's another indicator that San Diego County Gun Owners showed up. Right. I don't think Moms One Action and Brady Organization they didn't show up and say gun safety education.
Did they even show up?
Well, not as much as we did, but they were there for sure. There were anti-gun folks there as well as the pro-Second Amendment folks. But gun safety education, extremely important. Big fan of that. But honestly, the statistics don't show that people are dying from gun wounds because they were not knowledgeable or they weren't safe. It's really not what's happening. It's not showing that. I would argue, if you're a professional criminal, if you're a gang member, learning gun safety isn't going to help you. That's not going to help statistics. Yeah. If you're committing suicide, which is the other category, the biggest category, learning gun safety is probably not going to help you. Does that mean it's not important? No, it's extremely important.
It's incredibly important.
I also think that in kind of a less direct way, if you're teaching, especially kids, gun safety, you're teaching them respect for a firearm. I think there's a lot of kind of surrounding issue, that helps, teach a respect.
There is.
For
it's
life.
Almost like a lot of that curiosity is taken away. So they learn to respect, they learn to understand it, they learn the appropriateness of it, and And it no longer has that cool factor to where they want to be tempted to go in and do something they shouldn't do or be sneaky.
Yep. Responsibility.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, and back in my day, I mean, I was taught gun,
Horse and wagon?
Yeah.
Buggy? Yeah.
but I was taught gun handling, at a very, very, very young age. And I learned to respect all the way up through the military and the whole 9 yards.
So
But I started when I was little.
the next two, let me get real quick. Next two, higher criminal penalties, obviously pro Second Amendment. Mental health support, obviously pro Second Amendment. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we finally get to the 8th, which is GVROs.
What's that?
Gun violence restraining orders, probably the anti-gun crowd.
Oh, gotcha.
The first 8 were us.
Yeah.
And that's important. Anyway, check it out. We'll probably send it out again. It's a good read, but
It's on the website?
It's not on the website. We'll send it out via email, but this is going to give us ammo for years to come. This thing backfired heavily.
It sounds like it.
Which is good. Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. If you're watching mainstream media, you're not getting the truth about guns. Gun Owners Radio is the easiest way to stay on top of the Second Amendment fight, the fight for your self-defense rights. You can watch our live stream on YouTube every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, or if you're in San Diego, AM 1170, FM 96.1, The Answer. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform. Just search Gun Owners Radio and you'll find our show. Like and subscribe to help defend and restore the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.